Hello and welcome to Teen Take, my name's Sam. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Bourne Identity, so let's get straight to it. Okay, so the Bourne Identity is a 2002 spy thriller directed by Doug Liman, starring Matt Damon, Chris Cooper, who at first I just saw as the guy from the Muppets, because that's where I recognised him from, Franca Potente and Brian Cox, as well as Walton Goggins, which was nice to see as a smaller role in the film. So I'm going to go to spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, go check it out on Netflix if you're here in the UK, and then come back to the review. So, to give you some quick context, the Bourne Identity is about a CIA agent who wakes up, can't remember who he is, what his name is, anything, and has to figure out all of that, as well as being tracked down and, you know, the CIA are trying to kill him. So it made for an entertaining spy thriller where I was tense for about 50% of the film, mainly in sort of the first half when you didn't know who or what to trust, what was going on, anything like that. Really tense, and I really liked that. If a film can make you tense and sort of be like, what's going to happen, it's doing a good job, in my opinion anyway. The main thing I liked about this film was the amount of realism it felt like it had. There's an instance where it kind of broke that a little bit for me, which I'll talk about in a minute, but it just felt quite realistic, even if it wasn't. It felt like a gritty, real-life spy thriller. And what would it be like if something like this happened? For example, there's a scene in it where Jason basically brutally takes this guy out with a pen, because that's the only weapon he has access to, which was a very cool fight, by the way. Takes this guy with a pen, and Marie, the woman he's travelling with, is just shocked. And she doesn't do what most female sidekicks do in the stereotypical spy films when the male protagonist just drags them along for the ride. She's just kind of stood there and she's like, whoa, you just killed a guy with a pen. At first she's freaking out because the guy had her information, but afterwards when the guy's just kind of laying there dead and Jason's like frantic, like, okay, we need to do this, we need to do that, his agent stuff is sort of kicking in, she just stops and she's like, she's just kind of frozen. And Jason's like, look, are you going to come with me? Or are you going to go? Because you have to decide now. And there's this constant, tense, rhythmic music going. That scene for me was brilliant. That was probably one of the best scenes of the film. And eventually she just faints. And he has to kind of carry her out the building while she's being sick. And I just thought that was quite a realistic representation of what it would be like for someone to see brutal murder if they've never seen it before. They're coming out the building and he goes, you know, don't look, because the body's on the pavement. And she looks across and we see that as well, and there's just a dead guy laying on the pavement with like blood coming out of his head, and you can tell that it's really scarred her. And that was effective, because a lot of the time in films, unrealistic ones at least, the people just scream, cry, run away, and they don't really ever come back to the fact they've just seen horrific violence. I thought this representation was maybe a little bit more realistic than other instances. But saying that, there was a scene towards the end, in sort of the climax of the film, where Jason Bourne is at the top of a staircase and he's shooting and trying to kill CIA operatives who are coming at him from sort of all different angles. And one guy is halfway down the staircase, right? He's just killed a guy at the top, and so he pushes him off, sits on him, and as he's falling, shoots the guy in the middle of the staircase. I never thought I'd see Matt Damon riding a dead guy falling down and shoot another guy ever, and that was brilliant. It did kind of break realism for me a little bit, because up until then I was kind of like, it seems pretty realistic, even though it probably isn't. But when they did that, it was just like, oh, okay. They had to have one like super cool bit of violence that probably isn't that realistic. He probably would have broken bones, but he probably would have broken bones many of the time in the film, so I can't really comment too much. But yeah, I loved that. That was brilliant. I don't really have any specific negatives. There was kind of a point after sort of the first hour when, you know, we now figured out what's going on, what the end goal is and things like that, and Jason Bourne is kind of a little bit more knowledgeable in his situation because the mystery had kind of gone. Wasn't as interested in the story because before there was a lot of mystery and you really felt a lot of emotion for him because he had no idea what was going on. And it was less interesting after that, but it soon came back again with real tense scenes, especially in like this big snowy house belonging to this English guy, who was of course called Eamon, because most English people have names like that nowadays. So overall, I haven't figured out which rating system I'm going to use yet on the channel, but for now I'm just going to stick with a number out of 5, and I'd give The Bourne Identity a 3.5 out of 5. Great film, definitely give it a watch. So that was my Bourne Identity review. Do you agree with me? Let me know down in the comments. And I'm also going to be putting my Letterboxd account, a link to that in the description, so you can check out some of the other reviews I've done on there. And look out for a video at the end of the week which will review WandaVision, because episode 9 is coming out on Friday, which is going to be great. And I'm also going to try and get another video up this week as well. And so I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already.